NDDF 2018, Abia State, number 3, led by Sam Hart, Special Advisor to the Governor of Abia State on communications.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, co-debaters, and I just wanted to get you all to laugh a bit. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to stand here today. Abia States have been partners with PIND over time, and we've always attended NDDFs, and we're glad that there is something to take home from today's own. And we hope that at the end of the day, we would be taking it home today. Thank you, our judges. Thank you. I crave your indulgences, please, to run with me as we go through our presentation. I did not come alone. We came with a very high delegation, 8 people actually, 8-man delegation. We have the State Statistician General. We actually have an Abia State Bureau of Statistics, and it is in his office that all the plan documents over the years have been domiciled, and he was instrumental to preparing what we are presenting today. We worked with him. So Mr. Nnanaeze is the Statistician General of Abia State. He's here with us. Mr. Amechi Chukwu, next to him, is a Special Advisor to the Governor on Policy, Implementation, Monitoring, and Evaluation. We have the Permanent Secretary and the Executive Secretary of the State Oil Producing Areas Development Commission, which, whatever has to do with the Niger Delta, the state has designed it in such a way that ASOPADEC, the State Oil Producing Areas Development Commission, will play a lead role in that. Since PIND is concentrated in the Niger Delta, they're a critical part of what we're doing. We have the state focal person for sustainable development goals, which is a critical part of what we are discussing. He's here with us, Mr. Maduagu Ezenwa, the Director of Planning at the State Commission, and the EU focal person in Abia State is also here with us. Thank you. So I move straight to the presentation. Abia State PIN presentation, the headlines. Real quick, the background. Abia State was created in 1991, carved out of the former Imo State, and parts of Ebonyi State have also been carved out of the current Abia State. We have a landmass of 6,320 kilometers, 90% of it arable. There is a saying that if you lick an orange or any fruit and throw it out of your window, if you come back there the next year, there is a tree growing at that spot where you threw it away. Our land is highly arable. We're an educationally advantaged state with high literacy rates. Our people are doing very well in schools. Estimated population of 4 million, projected at 3% growth per annum. The demographic spread, age 0 to 20 account for 55.5% of our population. Age 21 to 64 account for 43.8%, and age 65 and above account for 4.4%. So that tells you that the bulk of our population are youths. We have 17 local government areas and 3 senatorial zones, and we're led at the moment by a democratically elected governor, Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu, who works closely with an elected House of Assembly and, of course, the judiciary. We have been ruled by 9 military administrators in our 27-year history. 9 administrators, 5 of them military and 4 civilians since creation. Now to our planning background. At the creation of Abia State in 1991, what was enforced then was a national development plan, which Abia State as a subunit keyed into. And that started in 1991. It was a 3-year rolling plan. And at the advent of democracy, or return of democracy in 1999, the administration of President Olusegun Obasanjo, working through the office of the Special Advisor then on Economics to the President, Professor Charles Soludo, came up with the National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategies, of which all states were expected to domesticate theirs. So from there, we got the Abia State Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy documents, ABSEEDS, which also dovetail to the local government. The evolution of planning continue to change name, strategy, and methods. I think it was him that said earlier on during the panel that there's actually no new plan. Every new plan is an offshoot of a pre-existing plan, just tailored to meet a particular need. What we have at the moment in Abia State is, after that we had, of course, the Vision 2020, which came up in 2007 to 10 thereabout, which was aimed to make Nigeria one of the 20 leading economies by the year 2020, and Abia State created its own local version and keyed into it. As of today, starting in 2015, what we have, the plan document we have at the moment is the Abia State Development Blueprint, which is a 10-year plan, 2015 to 2025, and it has as its key element 5 pillars of development and enablers. The pillars were conceptualized to speak to the areas where Abia State had competitive strength and advantage. In addition to the 10-year plan, we also have developed multi-year plans in select sectors such as agriculture, environment, works, and these are, as we were taught by the International Public Accounting System, IPSAS, of which Abia State is signed on to. The objectives of these plans are to improve our fiscal sustainability, accountability, transparency, management, sustainable development, and all of that, so that we can have synergy in what we're doing. The table just breaks down the various plans and when they came into effect and under whose regime. The rolling plan was actually Colonel Frank Ajobena, the military administrator, and Colonel Ike Nwosu, 91 to 99. Then the APSID document, Dr. Oji Zokalu to Theodore Oji. Vision 2020 was to dovetail to Ikbazu. Then Ikbazu came in and started the other plan, the Abia State Blueprint, which is still running at the moment. Now, what is the problem that we faced in evolving plans and implementing plans? We will just define them. But before I do that, I'll just state that the current plan has its mission objective, making Abia State the premier business destination, not just in Nigeria, but also in West Africa. What are the problems that we have? Core welfare. About 60% of the state population are estimated to be living below the poverty line. Now, for an agrarian state, for an industrialized state, that might sound strange, but the truth is that a subsistent farmer, how much do they produce? And is it above the poverty line? And even our industrial clusters are peopled by mom and pop shops and small shops employing 2 people. At the end of the day, their take home, does it exceed the poverty line? So 60% of them are living beneath. Many people do not have access to basic life needs. Water is a problem. The bulk of our population are rural dwellers, and of necessity, every morning they have to trek sometimes over 30 minutes to the closest stream where they can get somewhat clean water. Somewhat because the water is still not clean. Some villagers defecate in the water, that's where they wash and all of that, so it's still not clean. So we have that. Food, housing, sanitation is poor, and all of that. We have a problem of unemployment too. 65% of employable youths are either unemployed or underemployed. They are not satisfied with what they are doing at the moment, and they wish to have a better life. And the consequences of that is that we have youth restiveness, crime rate is high, malnutrition, life expectancy is low because of the Hobatian, nasty, brutish, and short way it is, and other danger signals are on the increase. Most of our roads are bad. Farm roads are not accessible. In Abia, for instance, if you have 400 roads in Abia, less than 10% of them are motorable. This is due to years of infrastructural neglect by successive administrations, which is now been hopefully tackled. Many households experience just over 2 hours of electricity every 2 weeks, and that is the current situation. And 44% of the population can source water within 30 minutes, like I explained earlier on. Problems identified, continuation. We need to do more to harness our natural resources, but incidentally, this is in the exclusive list. So the federal government totally controls solid minerals production and everything that has to do with it. So that is not within our production, but large hectarage of palm trees is within our control. They are underutilized because most of the production is manual. Tractorization is a problem, and we do not have farm implements. We have large deposit of oil and gas, yes, but untapped. Abia State is an oil-producing state nominally by title. The bulk of our oil wells are termed as capped oil wells, and we do not get any revenue from them because they are not being exploited, so they are capped oil wells. Our gas is being flared, and there's not much we're doing with it, so that has to be looked into. We have silicon, limestone, and all of that, but we entered into an agreement with Ibeto at some point, but we were told Dangote already has a supervening agreement, so that was put on hold, so we can't do much about that either. So we need to diversify the state economy. That is a problem that we have identified, and how we intend to do that is to look into agriculture and small and medium scale enterprises. We need to promote export quality production. We need to mechanize, and we need to get machines. We need to automate, get machines to help us do this. Public-private partnership needs to be promoted. We are not just complaining, we're actually doing some things. We are doing that already. We have signed into law the Public-Private Partnership and Investment Promotion Agency Bill, and we now have an agency standalone in charge of that, manned by a Director General who is pursuing that. We need to reduce our dependency on federal allocation, and the only way we can do that is to improve our IGR, and we are doing that from about 500 million in 2015. As of December last year, we were hitting 1.2, 1.3 billion per month, and we're working seriously on that. We need better institutional reforms. We have coordination problems amongst our MDAs, role assignments, conflict, duplication, and all of that. So we need to strengthen that. We are not perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be here. Budget indiscipline. Many projects that we execute are not tailored to the budget as provided. Low and late reporting of implementation, which makes it difficult to track. 60% of our civil servants are not ICT compliant. Over the years, we had an embargo on employment, so we have a top-heavy civil service, PAMSEX directors, and the rest over time, and with due respect to them, they are resistant to any new learning or any new change, but we have them, so we have to work with them. So what do we intend to achieve with this plan as we go? We want to execute critical infrastructure through priority capital expenditure and improvement in our PPP linkages and coordination. I was very excited with the panel earlier on, and I've noted things that I'll take back home. We want to embrace private sector growth through the growth of small and medium-scale enterprises. Meanwhile, let me quickly announce that we've gotten the license for the first free trade zone in the southeast, the Enyimba Economic City, and that has tremendous potentials for job creation and industrial growth. We want to concentrate on, our objective is to concentrate on social inclusion and job creation through employment creation, targeted poverty reduction initiatives, and ramp up social investments, engage and participate more in activities of development partner agencies like what we're doing here today. We have linkages with so many development partner agencies. We need to improve on that, and we're seeking technical assistance in capacity building. Even with our existing manpower, we believe that they are still teachable. If they are taught more, they will do better. Now, to do this, what are the variables that are under our control, the unique and specific variables? We need to remove the bottlenecks that impede growth of our internally generated revenue. Fine, we're growing, but we know we can do better. So we need to remove the bottlenecks that impede the growth of IGR in our state. We need to be more prudent in the management of our public finances by tailoring expenditure to approved estimates, and that will help us. We need to strengthen on a continuous basis our government institutions, tackle challenges affecting ease of doing business in the state. Again, we are succeeding here. 2 weeks ago in Enugu, there was a meeting where they reviewed the ERGP, and Abia State was selected as one of the 5 states that has improved tremendously on all the 4 thematic indices of ease of doing business. So we are growing there. Our challenges: poor human capital, development. Healthcare delivery is not optimal. We have health centers spread, we have 946 health centers spread around the state, but the qualified manpower and adequate drug provision is a challenge, and we need to look into that. That, of course, is affecting our rating on certain indices: maternal mortality, child mortality, communicable diseases, and the rest. Rural poverty is a problem. Conflict and post-conflict integration issues is a problem. We have skirmishes, intra-community, inter-community, host community, and the rest of them. Institutional reforms, we need to do more. Citizens, we are engaging, but we need to engage more. The Planning Commission, the Statistician General is here. They hold periodic interface with the citizens because our budgets are citizen-driven, our people-driven. They hold town hall meetings with the people to know what their needs are, to enable them come up with a budget, a people's budget. What are our coordination and collaboration plans? We are looking at program delivery anchored on coordination and collaboration through coordinating agencies, anchored on the Abia State Planning Commission. That's where the Statistician General is here. He runs the Planning Commission, and everything we're doing comes under his office, and they are responsible for formulating and producing the plan documents. So ministries, departments, and agencies are key stakeholders. They all meet on a very regular basis, civil society organizations, and all of that, to make sure that things happen in a coordinated manner. MDAs are advised to reach out to international development partners, legislative arm of government. Of course, they hold their constituency meetings to talk to the people, to know what they need, and they engage with them. Now, a critical aspect of the presentation: all these fantastic things we say we want to do, how do we intend to find the funds to fund them? What's our resource plan? And I'll just list them real quick. We want to strengthen our integration and linkage with federal government program for states. Abia State has done very well in that. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibajo, recently commended us that we're doing even better than APC states in leveraging opportunities available in the federal government. Our social investment program is one of the best in the country. So there is a lot available in the federal government. So we are apolitical. We go to them and we get whatever they have for states. We are leveraging development partner funding. We have just concluded arrangement with the African Development Bank. The Senate has approved, the President has approved. We're about to draw down on $200 million from the African Development Bank. Last week, we got funding from World Bank for our e-wash program, water, sanitation, health, and the rest of them. And of course, federal allocation that comes to Abia State, our state budget, and then our internally generated revenue. These are all areas we hope to get funding from to fund the plan that we're talking about. And then we're also looking at plugging loopholes, closing the barns and shutting the goats out, hoping that that will help our money to remain a bit more so that it can be used to do things. And finally, we want to leverage on PPP. That's why we set up that agency, so that we can have public funds, public sector funds. We have proper structure for public sector funds to come into Abia State. The table, the infographic here just shows you how our plan is moving. From the long-term development plan, let's use the Abia State Development Blueprint as an example. It's a 10-year plan. Of course, it can't be planned 10 years like that, so you break it down. So we break it down to a 3-year medium-term plan, 2015 to 2018. Then even within that, we create the medium-term expenditure framework, which now speaks to sectoral priorities and how it should go. Medium-term sector strategies. From there, you devolve down to an annual 12-monthly budget, and then you move to cash release, which will now fund the plan. Now, a question that has recurred amongst the panelists are, panel of judges, what is our sustainability plan? How do we intend to deepen this plan to make sure that it doesn't get thrown away? Well, legislation, we have passed into law the bulk of our plan documents, the bulk of the agencies that we've created. We want to reduce ad hoc, special advisors, seniors. We are using agencies of government that are there and hopefully can stand the test of time, irrespective of who is empowered. Pursue our renewed generation with vigor and work on the documents. We have signed on to the Open Government Partnership. I'm glad to hear that there is a budget representative in the House. Every year, Abia State budget is one of the first to go on the website, and it can be accessed from anywhere. So everybody sees our budget. So we've signed on. Want to continue in our trajectory of fiscal reforms, which will, dovetail to other international best standards like the IPSAS and the rest of them. Deepen monitoring and evaluation, because if results come back and there is proof that these things are actually working, there is no incentive for a new person to throw them away because they are working. Ease of doing business gains will be sustained. I did mention that we've grown. We were recognized as one of the 5 states that grew the last time. Winding down, expected outcome and impact of all of this. Human capital will improve naturally if you tie all these things together. Human rights will be ensured through justice reforms. One of the kudos we got in the ease of doing business is that contractual obligations are kept with in our courts, and we actually have ADR separate for contract resolution so that it wouldn't take all the long time that it takes in regular courts. We want to improve our ranking in all of these indices. We are building we have built, not even building, a child hospital, just a baby hospital only for children, and the equipment are coming from America, which the governor said he wants to know. Every child that dies in Abia State, he wants to know about it, not for punitive measures, but to know why, and then to be able to prevent that. So we have all of these infrastructures that we hope that will improve upon implementation of these plans. Enhanced citizen engagement, gender inequality will be improved. We are an Igbo state, we're Igbo people, a highly patriarchal society, but we are hoping that with better education, better information, some of those constructs will be reduced and things will get better. How do we measure our outcomes? Population literacy, age 10 years and above in the state, we hope that it will increase. We're working, we don't want to hope, we are working towards it increasing from 80 to 90% by year 2020, and it's not a blind hope. Recently, 2 days ago, a report was released on out-of-school prevalence, and Abia State came second, only behind Edo State. We have 86,000 out-of-school children. Edo has 79,000. Other states, we're having up to 1.2 million children out of school. So we're working to even topple Edo and become the first with the least out-of-school children. Of course, Abia secondary school students have been coming first in WAEC every year for the past 4 years. So some of these reforms are already bearing fruit. We want better access to our primary health care to increase from the current 50 to 80%. Within a 20-minute radius, you should be able to get proper health care by 2020. Immunization of children. Just yesterday, before coming, we were told that even though there is a yellow fever outbreak in Abuja, our people are moving into the field to ensure the immunization of children against yellow fever, even though it is not in Abia State. So we are taking proactive steps to prevent things from happening. We want to get better access to water supply. We just signed, like I said, e-wash with the World Bank. So these are not just things we're pulling from the air or castles we're building in the air. The bulk of these plans, we are working on them. We've already started implementing them, and the tangible, measurable results are already beginning to show, and we're grateful to that. At the end of the day, what is our objective? Making Abia State the premier business destination in Nigeria and West Africa. Thank you very much.